What would you think if I told you that sometimes the most powerful way to make a man notice you, to make him truly chase you, is by doing absolutely nothing? No texts, no checking if he saw your stories, no asking about his day, nothing. At first, it sounds contradictory. How could ignoring someone spark attraction? But beneath that paradox lies a deeper truth, one that thinkers like Carl Jung hinted at long ago. When you withdraw your energy, you stop feeding another person's ego, and you begin to see their real intentions unfold. This is not manipulation, it is power, your power. Most women don't realize that their constant availability, emotional, mental, and even spiritual, can actually render them invisible, not because they lack value, but because they never give a man the chance to miss them. When you are always there, answering quickly, smoothing over silence, filling every gap, you become the background of his world instead of the center he cannot stop looking for. Jung called this projection, we pour our light into someone, hoping they will reflect it back. But when you stop giving and begin to receive, something fascinating happens. The other person must choose whether to step forward or fade away. And in that space, you learn the truth. One of the hardest lessons is this: men do not fall in love when you give them everything. They fall in love when they feel the absence of what you once gave so freely. Absence awakens desire. Think of it like this: human beings are wired to chase. Jung once observed that what we chase in others often mirrors unconscious parts of ourselves, a hidden fear, a buried longing, a wound that demands healing. When you step back, when you no longer act as his source of validation, you transform into a mystery his mind wants to solve. And mystery, far more than effort, is magnetic. Chasing, on the other hand, is born out of fear. Fear of being forgotten, fear of losing him, fear of not being enough. But the moment you redirect that energy away from him and toward yourself, everything shifts. You become scarce, and scarcity creates value. Have you ever noticed how the least interested people in a room often receive the most attention? It's not cruelty, and it's not arrogance. It's simply that their energy isn't desperate. They are not clinging. They are not chasing, and that is what creates attraction. It's when you chase, you tell him that he is the center of your world. When you stop, you force him to wonder why. Why isn't she after me anymore? Did I do something wrong? Is she with someone else? These questions burrow into his mind, and suddenly, you are no longer predictable. You become unforgettable. And here's the secret: it's not about being cold. It's not about being cruel. It's about redirecting your energy back into yourself, your peace, your growth, your transformation, your silence, your absence, your calm. These speak louder than any "I miss you" you could send. Ignoring doesn't mean rudeness. It means simply not being available for what does not nourish you. When you understand your worth, you stop trying to prove it. You embody it. And when you do, he begins to feel the emptiness you left behind. That emptiness is powerful. It forces him to confront not just his feelings for you, but also his own fragility, his own ego. And this is where another of Jung's teachings becomes relevant. He wrote that when we give too much of ourselves without receiving, we are not being loving, we are being unconscious. We are acting from patterns of fear rather than patterns of love. Many men, without realizing it, become used to the comfort of being pursued. Every quick reply, every check-in, every broken silence reinforces their sense of control. It feels good to be desired. But when that attention disappears, when your reflection of their importance goes dark, something inside them panics. It is not that they miss you. They miss the version of themselves they felt in your presence. And in that gap lies the real test. If he only wanted your attention, he will vanish. But if you matter to him, if he truly cares, he will seek you out. This is why silence is so powerful. Jung said the soul often speaks through what is unsaid. When you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop filling every silence with reassurance, you leave space for him to reflect. Silence becomes tension, mystery, the seed of doubt. For a man used to constant access, it is an alarm. Suddenly, he cannot predict you. Suddenly, he does not know what you are thinking, and that uncertainty drives him to action. The truth is simple: what is taken for granted will eventually be lost, but what disappears without explanation becomes an obsession. When you step away, not to punish, but to protect your peace, you create a void he cannot ignore. That void is the beginning of power, not power over him, but power within yourself. Every unanswered message, every call you choose not to return, every moment you prioritize your peace over pleasing him is a message louder than words. It says, I am no longer willing to play this game. I am no longer willing to dance with your ego. I have chosen myself. And that choice changes everything. You don't need to block him out of anger or post dramatic statements. You don't need to explain your absence or justify your silence. In fact, the most powerful shift happens when you disappear in the calmest way possible, not as punishment, but as a reminder to yourself that you are no longer the woman who chases someone who doesn't see her. When he feels that emptiness, he will react, sometimes with messages, sometimes with indirect comments, sometimes even with anger. But do not be confused. That reaction is not love. It is his ego trying to reclaim the attention it once fed on, and that distinction is everything. Because if his pursuit is only about restoring his pride, it will fade as quickly as it begins. But if his pursuit is born from care, from intention, from genuine recognition of your worth, he will not give up easily. This is the filter your absence creates. It separates the surface from the substance, the ego-driven need from true connection. Jung believed we all wear masks, personas, that shield our deeper selves. When you are always available, you feed the mask, you validate only the surface, but when you withdraw, you force him to confront what lies beneath. That discomfort he feels, that confusion, that unease, it is not about you. It is about him. It is his ego crumbling. And in that collapse, his truest self begins to reveal itself. So how do you stop feeding his ego without cruelty? By refusing to supply what no longer serves you. Don't reply immediately. Don't initiate conversations. Don't explain your silence. Don't post things just to catch his eye. Let your absence speak. Let the mystery breathe. You are not here to convince a man of your worth. The right man will recognize it in your presence and prove it in your absence. The transformation that begins when you stop giving too much is profound. Your energy resets. You are no longer begging for crumbs, you become the whole table. You shift from chasing to attracting. And suddenly, the one who assumed he had you secured realizes he may have lost the best thing that ever happened to him. That realization stings. It unsettles him. And in that unsettling lies your leverage. Not because you want to manipulate him, but because you have finally reclaimed your center. Silence carries its own power. Women are often taught that they must speak to be heard, that they must explain themselves to be taken seriously. But silence, when chosen with intention, can be louder than any speech. Jung observed that the soul often expresses itself in what is not said. Silence is not emptiness. It is tension. It is mystery. It is the seed of doubt. And for a man accustomed to your constant attention, silence is a jolt he cannot ignore. Think about it. What is always available is rarely treasured, but what vanishes without explanation becomes unforgettable. Your choice not to react, not to explain, not to intervene, forces him into a mirror. Where did I go wrong? Why isn't she chasing me? What changed? Those questions echo inside him. And through that reflection, he must confront not just his feelings about you, but his own immaturity, his own shadow, the parts of himself he would rather avoid. Jung called this process confronting the shadow, facing the hidden aspects of our psyche we usually deny. And when you walk away in silence, you trigger that confrontation in him. But remember, silence is not a weapon. It is not meant to punish. It is a revelation. It shows him what life feels like without your constant energy sustaining him. Every time you choose not to explain, every time you choose calm over chaos, you declare a new identity. You are no longer the woman who tries to earn love through sacrifice. You are the woman who embodies her worth in stillness. And yes, he will notice. He may try to draw you back, not out of love, but out of fear of losing control. He may send flurries of messages, or subtle hints, or even provoke you with irritation. But those are not signs of deep care. They are signs of a bruised ego. The real test lies in persistence. If he truly values you, he will not just reach out once. He will not just express frustration. He will show intention. He will act consistently. He will make space for you. This is why stepping back matters so much. It is not about cruelty. It is not about creating distance just for drama. It is about giving both yourself and him clarity. Your silence reveals his truth. And in that revelation, you gain the freedom to decide, does he reach for you with sincerity? Or does he vanish when you no longer feed his ego? That answer, revealed in silence, tells you more than words ever could. When you step away, you invite the most powerful force in human connection: curiosity. A man who has always had easy access to you no longer knows what to expect. His mind fills with questions. Why did she pull back? Did I do something wrong? Has she moved on? In psychology, uncertainty is often more compelling than certainty. And Jung understood this well. He said the unconscious speaks through symbols. When you walk away without drama, without explanations, without leaving obvious clues, you become a symbol yourself, an enigma he cannot solve. And men, by nature, chase what they cannot fully understand. If he knows you will always be there, he has no reason to move. But if one day your presence grows faint, if you no longer reply as quickly, if your energy no longer circles around him, something shifts. He notices. He remembers old conversations. He scrolls through your photos. He wonders if he has made a mistake. That space you created through silence begins to weigh on him. It unsettles him, and human nature compels him to close that gap. But here is the essential truth. Do not be the one to fill it. Let him move toward you. Let him be the one to make the effort, to ask the questions, to show his intentions. If you rush to explain or soothe, you break the spell. This is not a game of manipulation. It is the art of discernment. It is about allowing time and space to reveal whether his interest is genuine. If he truly wants you, he will come closer. If not, your absence will fade from his memory. And that itself is an answer. By stepping back, you are not just testing him, you are discovering yourself. You are discovering that your value does not depend on anyone else's recognition. There is a quiet beauty in walking away without raising your voice, without demanding closure, without staging a scene. It is not coldness, it is evolution. Jung spoke of individuation, the process of separating from external expectations and reconnecting with your purest essence. When you walk away from someone who cannot give you what you deserve, you are stepping directly into that process. You're no longer chasing validation outside yourself. You are finding it within. That shift transforms your energy. Suddenly, you laugh without waiting for his call. You put on makeup for yourself, not for him. You fall asleep without checking your phone for a message that may never arrive, and without realizing it. You shine differently. A new version of you is being built centered, complete, untied to his presence. He senses it. Even if he never speaks it, he feels it. That distance, that wholeness becomes magnetic. The irony is almost cruel the moment you stop needing him. He begins to miss you. A man can feel when a woman no longer revolves around him. He can sense it in her tone, her timing, her silence. And though he may not know why, he finds himself drawn back, trying to reclaim the place he once assumed was his. But here's the difference: you did not walk away so he would come back. You walked away to come back to yourself. And if he does return, let it not be because his ego was bruised, but because he recognized your worth. Let it be because he chooses you with intention, not because he cannot tolerate losing control. If he only comes back to restore the comfort of his importance, you will know. If he comes back to build, to grow, to give, then the silence has done its work. Boundaries do not always require words. In fact, the strongest boundaries are lived, not spoken. Jung once said that what is not integrated into consciousness manifests as destiny. In relationships, that means if you do not realize your own value, you will continue attracting people who do not see it either. That is why walking away without drama, without endless explanations, is so powerful. It is a boundary expressed in action, not replying to messages without intention, not accepting last-minute invites, not being available only when it is convenient for him. These are all ways of saying, with clarity with me, it is all or nothing. You can tell a man you deserve more 1,000 times, but if you keep tolerating less, he will not believe you, not because he is cruel, but because you are teaching him that your love is negotiable. Real love is not. It is steady, it is reciprocal, it is sacred. And when you set energetic boundaries, you are no longer begging for love, you are embodying it. When a man realizes he cannot access you like before, he feels the change. He sees that you no longer respond with the same eagerness, that you no longer settle for crumbs. He senses that something in you has shifted, and that something is self-respect. You are no longer willing to play second place. You are no longer willing to prove yourself to someone who has not earned the privilege. That kind of quiet strength cannot be ignored. When you stop moving toward him, everything changes. You are no longer in waiting mode, holding your breath for his next gesture of affection. You're no longer planning your days around his replies or shaping your energy to fit the attention he may or may not give. Instead, you step into stillness. And in that stillness lies a new power, the power of choice. For once, it is not about what he wants, but about what you will allow. Carl Jung said that when we stop acting from fear, we begin to see reality as it truly is. Fear distorts. It makes us chase approval. It makes us cling to what does not serve us. It makes us confuse crumbs for a feast. But when you release fear, when you stop chasing, you allow reality to reveal itself, and that revelation is simple. If he wants to be in your life, he will make it clear. If he does not, you no longer need to spend your energy trying to hold him. When you stop being the one who always initiates, when you stop checking if he cares, when you redirect your focus toward your own peace, he feels the shift, and that shift forces a decision. He can either let you go, or he can move toward you. That reaction speaks louder than any words. The one who truly wants to stay will stay. The one who values you will show it, not in excuses, but in actions. And the one who cannot stand on his own without your constant reassurance will fade away. Here is the paradox: silence may feel like loss at first. Walking away may feel like emptiness, but that very emptiness becomes a magnet, not because you are manipulating, but because you are embodying self-respect. Men are not drawn to women who give endlessly without boundaries. They are drawn to women who shine, who are whole, who know their worth. And nothing reveals that worth more clearly than the willingness to walk away from what does not honor it. Think about how many times you may have explained yourself in the past, how many times you wrote long messages, trying to prove your love, how many times you forgave quickly, hoping he would finally understand. All of that effort did not raise your value in his eyes, it lowered it. Not because you were wrong to love deeply, but because he learned that no matter what he gave or withheld, you would always remain. And what is always guaranteed is rarely treasured. But when you shift, when you hold your silence, when you no longer react to every move he makes, something unfamiliar arises in him. Doubt, curiosity, desire. He begins to wonder if he has taken you for granted. He begins to question if you are slipping away. He begins to feel the gap your absence created. That gap becomes the teacher he never expected. It forces him to see you not as background, but as a presence he cannot easily replace. Yet even here, the focus is not on him, it is on you. Because the real gift of silence is not that it makes him chase, but that it makes you whole. In silence, you find yourself again. You discover the peace that comes when you stop bargaining for attention. You discover the joy of doing things for yourself, Without waiting for his validation, you discover the strength of setting boundaries through action instead of words. And in that discovery, you are transformed. The woman who no longer checks her phone every hour is free. The woman who dresses for herself, who smiles without waiting for his approval, who goes to bed in peace instead of anxiety, that woman radiates a new kind of energy. She is no longer caught in the push and pull of his attention. She has stepped into what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming fully herself, separate from the expectations of others, and that energy is irresistible. Men sense when a woman no longer revolves around them. They feel it in her timing, in her tone, in her silence. They cannot explain it, but it unsettles them. And often, that is when they try to return. They reach out, not because you demanded it, but because the mystery of your absence drew them back. But here is the crucial part: you must not rush to open the door. If he comes back, let it be on your terms. Let it be because he recognized your value, not because he panicked at losing control. And if he does not return, that is not loss. That is freedom. Freedom to stop pouring yourself into someone who never learned how to hold you. Freedom to save your energy for the one who will. Because the truth is, love does not need to be chased. Real love moves toward you willingly. Real love meets you where you are, without games, without tests, without conditions. And until you see that clearly, you will mistake chasing for loving. The most powerful boundaries are not the ones you explain, but the ones you live. You don't need to tell a man you will no longer accept the bare minimum. You show it by no longer responding to it. You don't need to announce that you deserve more. You prove it by walking away when you receive less. Carl Jung reminded us that what remains unconscious will shape our destiny. In relationships, this means that if you are unaware of your worth, you will keep attracting people who cannot see it either. But the moment you become conscious of it, everything changes. Your silence, your distance, your refusal to settle, all of these create a new dynamic. A man who once assumed he could come and go as he pleased begins to realize that something has shifted. He no longer feels the same access to your time, your energy, your heart. And that change unsettles him. He may not admit it, but he notices when you no longer rush to reply. He notices when you decline last-minute invitations. He notices when your life no longer revolves around him. And in that noticing, he is forced to confront a new reality you are not guaranteed. This is what makes absence so powerful. It forces him to reckon with the truth of his feelings. If his interest was only in being admired, he will drift away once the admiration stops. But if his interest was in you, your essence, your presence, your soul, he will return, not with excuses, but with clarity. He will show you through actions, not words, that he values what he nearly lost. And that is the difference between love and ego. Ego demands constant validation. Love rises when validation is no longer supplied. But here's the deeper lesson: this journey was never about him. It was always about you. Because the moment you stop chasing, you awaken to yourself. You realize that you are not here to prove your worth, but to embody it. You realize that love cannot be begged, for it must be given freely, and it must flow in both directions. You realize that silence is not a punishment, but a path back to peace. Walking away gracefully, without drama, without rage, is not weakness, it is strength. It says you have nothing to prove. It says you will not play games with your dignity. It says you trust life enough to let go of what is not meant for you, so that what is meant for you has space to arrive, Jung once said. Don't hold on to those who walk away from you, so that those who want to come close can. That wisdom is timeless. You cannot welcome the right person if you are clinging to the wrong one. So let your silence do its work. Let it filter out the ones who only craved your attention. Let it reveal the ones who are willing to step forward with sincerity. And in the meantime, let that silence restore you. Pour your energy back into yourself. Tend to your own growth. Nurture your own spirit. Because the woman who chooses herself radiates a power no one can ignore. She is no longer an option. She is the choice. And if he comes back, let it be because he has grown, not because he fears losing control. Let it be because he wants to walk beside you, not because he cannot stand to watch you walk alone. And if he does not come back, let it be the door that closes so another may open. Either way, you win, because either way, you have reclaimed yourself at the heart of it. This is not about making a man chase you. It is about stepping into your own energy so fully that the right man cannot help but recognize it. It is about remembering that you are worthy of being chosen without conditions, without games, without begging. It is about trusting that when you stop giving endlessly, you begin attracting what truly aligns with you. So if you find yourself tempted to chase, to explain, to prove, remember this: your silence speaks louder. Your absence teaches more than your presence ever could. And your peace is more valuable than any attention you might lose. Walk away with grace. Hold your silence with strength, and watch as the world begins to respond not to your desperation, but to your dignity. If this message has resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on where you have been giving too much of yourself away. Ask yourself what boundaries you can live, not just speak. And remember that the love you deserve will never require you to chase it. It will meet you where you are whole, radiant, complete. If this video has touched you, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe for more reflections like this. Tell me in the comments what resonated most with you, and where in your own life you are ready to choose silence over chasing. Your journey may inspire someone else who needs to hear it today.